Today we're going to be taking a look at 5 crazy passive income streams that are made possible through decentralized finance. Let's hop into it. First things first, I want to mention that decentralized finance, also known as DeFi, is a financial revolution that puts the power back in the hands of the people and takes it away from large institutions, different banks, different governments, and so on and so forth. Ultimately, decentralized finance allows you to have complete custody and control over what happens to your finances. And a lot of you guys are probably thinking, well, I got money in my bank account right now. I could do whatever I want with that money in my bank, right? Well, that's actually an incorrect answer. And the reason why is because if the bank wants to, they can impose a hold or a pause or something along those lines on your account so you can't spend any money. Additionally, if that bank does go under and you have money over the FDIC limit, well then you're completely screwed in that case scenario because you are not going to be protected by the bank. So let's talk about DeFi though. DeFi is an industry currently worth $37 billion as of October of 2023. At its peak price, which was also the peak of the crypto market in November of 2021, it was worth $180 billion. Additionally, cryptocurrency's overall market cap is $1.16 trillion, which ultimately shows how much room DeFi has to grow. DeFi has the potential to become a $1 trillion industry if we value it at the same valuation that currently cryptocurrency is at. And if you guys do want to learn more about DeFi, I do recommend you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, but also take a look at some other videos on the page because we go in depth on what DeFi is. But the first passive income stream we're going to talk about within decentralized finance is providing liquidity, also known as market making. So the basis of this strategy is, of course, people want to trade on decentralized exchanges. One of those decentralized exchanges, which also happens to be the largest decentralized exchange, is Uniswap. People go over to an app like Uniswap, they'll connect their wallet, which allows them to execute a completely decentralized trade. They'll put in the top asset, which let's just say is Ethereum, and they'll put in the bottom asset. In this case scenario, we'll say it's USDC. And then they'll go ahead and hit swap, confirm swap, and now as you can see, if I do go ahead and execute this swap, I'm losing 0.1165 Ethereum, but I'm gaining 186 USDC. So essentially I am trading my Ethereum for USDC basically through something known as a decentralized exchange. The best part is this does not run on an order book and anybody can be a market maker in this scenario. Because of course, if you look at this very, very closely, I'm losing 0.2% on this trade. Now if we take a look at the breakdown of that 0.2%, I'm losing 0.15% to the fee that I'm paying uniswap.org, and the other 0.05% is paid to liquidity providers in this liquidity pool. And anybody can go over to the pool section on Uniswap and provide liquidity. Matter of fact, I have a wrapped Bitcoin to USDC pool that I have opened up with $20,000 right now, and I've already made $70 just in the past day off of this pool, which I will say is higher than usual. We are seeing increased volume for Bitcoin, but ultimately I'm earning about a 40% APR on my overall Bitcoin stash just by providing liquidity for this pool. Now to take a look at some statistics of Uniswap, it's on multiple networks, but the largest network it is on is the Ethereum network. Ethereum network makes up for about 2/3 of Uniswap's overall liquidity. And if we look at the volume in the past 24 hours, it currently sits at $600 million. With that being said, it has an overall TVL of $2.75 billion. Ultimately, this just shows the volume to TVL ratio is absolutely absurdly great, I would say, because it's coming in with $600 million in volume per day, basically, with a TVL of $2.75 billion. The ratio there is just magnificent in my opinion. Now to actually estimate potential returns, we use a tool called Buildermetrics, which is our own in-house tool. It's completely free to use, but with a range of 1,500 to 1,720 USDC per Ethereum, which is basically $1,500 to $1,720, we're estimated to earn a 40% APR on this liquidity pool. So to earn a 40% APR on Ethereum is absolutely amazing in my personal opinion. You're not going to get better returns by that. And granted, you could just go stake Ethereum, but that's going to yield you maybe 4 to 5%, which we'll talk about later on in the video. Now this is when we're providing concentrated liquidity, basically meaning that we're ranging down our liquidity and providing it across a price range, which might be a little bit tricky of a concept to understand, but once again, we have like a million different videos on concentrated liquidity. The basis of this is, as we go broader with our range, we capture a lower return. So with the range of 1420 to 1880, we capture roughly a 20% APR. Whereas if we go with a super tight range, like let's just say 1556 to something like 1660, we're estimated to get an 87% APR. Obviously, there are risk in concentrated liquidity pools. There's something known as impermanent loss, but as long as you are structuring your pools properly, you are going to be able to manage that impermanent loss and outperform it. And if you guys are interested in learning more about how you can create a full-time passive income from decentralized finance, I recommend you take a look at this free DeFi passive income guide linked down below in the description. But the next strategy is simply going to be staking your assets. Now, the largest place to stake your assets is on Lido Finance. And currently, you can stake Ethereum for a 3.6% APR, which which obviously is not great, but here you have pretty much no risk. And the reason why is because Lido is the largest decentralized application. It has a market dominance on the overall DeFi industry, and currently its TVL is $14 billion. So pretty much Lido makes up for about 40% of the overall DeFi TVL, which sits at $37 billion. But basically the simple process behind this is you go and you give Lido your Ethereum, they go and they take your Ethereum and stake it into a validator, which is validating transactions on the Ethereum network and supporting the decentralization of the network. You don't have risk to impermanent loss, you don't have counterparty risk, you don't have anything like that. You have full exposure to Ethereum, you're just simply earning an additional 4% reward basically. So obviously you can see why providing liquidity on an app like Uniswap is a lot more beneficial than staking your Ethereum. But again, there are use cases for both, because when you're staking Ethereum, if Ethereum goes up 10x, you're going to go up 10x plus whatever yield you accrued during the time you were staking. Whereas if you're in a liquidity pool and you have your top range too narrow, you might get wrecked by impermanent loss. So if Ethereum goes up 10x, you might only go up 5x or 4x or 3x or something like that, depending on how your pool is structured. But don't let that stray you away from providing liquidity. As long as you know what you're doing, you're going to be able to outperform that 10x and potentially do an 11 to 12x return. Next strategy I want to talk about is called lending and borrowing, also known as a money market. So the largest money market in DeFi is known as OV, and it's been around for a very long time. I believe it was first released in 2018. We're currently on OV version 3 here. But basically on OV, we can lend out our assets and get a return on them. So if we were to go lend out DAI right now on OV, we're estimated to get a APY of 4.68%, which in my personal opinion is not bad whatsoever. Now you're probably wondering where that 4.68% comes from. Well, people can go and borrow our DAI basically, because we're supplying DAI and other people can go and borrow DAI for whatever reason they may choose. And they're paying an APY of 5.8%. So that difference right there is obviously going to the OV protocol and people that are staking OV token. Now the other cool thing is, if you do put up, let's just say DAI as collateral and lend it out and supply it, you can actually go and borrow other assets. So people can only borrow these assets if they have collateral, and there are liquidations to prevent bad debt from happening on the platform. So if I were to go put up $6,000 worth of DAI, I could go and borrow up to 97% of another stablecoin. Whereas if I put up, let's just say $6,000 of wrapped Bitcoin, I'm not going to be able to borrow $6,000 or anywhere near $6,000 worth of a stablecoin, just because I would instantly get liquidated, and there are different ratios in place there for the loan to value ratio. But ultimately the benefit behind this is, let's just say I have Ethereum that I'm staking for 4%. I want full exposure to Ethereum, but I don't like the fact that my Ethereum is just earning 4%. What I might do is go and collateralize my wrapped staked Ethereum, which earns a 4% return within its price, and then I might go and borrow stablecoins. So if I'm collateralizing $10,000 of wrapped staked Ethereum, I might go borrow $5,000 of stablecoins, and then I can take those stablecoins and I can do whatever I wish to do with it. So I could take those stablecoins and invest them into stablecoin yield farms that are doing maybe 20% APR, and ultimately that is going to bring my overall return up because it is earning 20% on my borrow. Now Spark Finance is going to be relatively similar to OV, but in this case scenario it's powered by real world assets. And what I mean by that is, if you were to go collateralize your DAI on Spark Finance, you're earning a 5% return on it. And that 5% return is paid directly from treasury bills in the United States. And this is all powered through MakerDAO. MakerDAO are the ones that practically invented the concept of DeFi back in 2017. And Spark Finance is by MakerDAO, and it is safe. So if you want exposure to treasury bills, but you want to be liquid at the same exact time, head over to Spark Finance and you can deposit DAI and earn 5%. And then if you wish to do so, you can actually borrow DAI against assets like Ethereum, staked Ethereum, and our Ethereum. And obviously here you are going to be paying an interest rate of 5.53%, but what can you do? You can go and take this DAI and throw it right back into DSR, which is earning 5%, putting your net interest rate at negative 0.53% basically. But ultimately you still have exposure to your Ethereum stash, and now you have DAI that's earning 5%, and you're just paying a 0.53% fee basically. There's many different strategies that you can do with Spark Finance, but I do believe that this is one of the purest forms of yield, right behind Uniswap v3, concentrated liquidity pools, and normal liquidity pools. And going further, we have a platform called GMX, but there are many other platforms out there, and these are all decentralized perpetual exchanges. If you think about it, people want to trade futures for Bitcoin, Ethereum, so on and so forth, and they want to be able to do it without having to go on a centralized exchange. And the reason why they want to do that is because they they don't want to have risk to something like FTX completely crashing, or another centralized exchange going under and completely losing all of their money. That's exactly where GMX comes into play. Everything is shown directly on the blockchain, so obviously you can go and trace the money back to make sure that they do have money in reserves, but GMX is basically a perpetual futures exchange that is based on a liquidity pool system similar to what we talked about earlier. Now, these liquidity pools do function different than Uniswap and concentrated liquidity pools, and the yield is going to be a little bit lower. But in my opinion, in a bear market, you don't have as much risk in these liquidity pools, where in a bull market, you have a lot more risk. And that's because you're taking the counterparty of all trades. And that basically means if a trader wins, let's just say $100 on their trade, the liquidity pool is paying them out that $100, which means you are basically paying out that trader for their win. So their win is your loss. So obviously in a bear market, traders are usually losing their trades, which ultimately means you're going to be winning a lot of money because you're taking the counterparty to the trade. Whereas in a bull market, traders end up winning a lot of their trades. So you're going to be losing money to the trader basically. But some of these pools like Bitcoin to USD allow you to get a 13% APR, Sol to USD allowing you to get a 17% APR, and so on and so forth down the list. And if you want exposure to the majority of these assets over here, you can provide liquidity for an asset called GLP, which is a basket of assets earning roughly 7% APR. This is all real yield, there's a real revenue stream behind it, and GLP is collateralized by Ethereum, Bitcoin, Link, Uni, and then stablecoins. So that means if these assets rise in value, well then GLP also rises in value. But ultimately, if a trader wins a lot of their trades, they're taking money out of their reserves, which causes you to lose a little bit. With that being said, don't forget to check out that free DeFi passive income guide. And if you found this video informative, make sure to drop a like and subscribe when notifications turned on. I hope to see you guys in the next one, and peace out.